Hey guys, welcome to the tutorial and we will be learning about virtual machine scale set today. And by the end of this tutorial, you will have a good idea of how to provisioning the scale set using Azure portal. And in the Hansard lab, what we will be doing is we will be creating the auto scaling rule to increase and decrease the number of VM instance in response to the performance metrics. So before provisioning the virtual machine scale sets, let's understand the difference between the virtual machine versus the scale set. So you have a batch processing job and you are configuring, you are having your virtual machines. And imagine that, there is a sudden burst of requests coming through your virtual machine and you only have an option to do a vertical scale up. That means that you can only go ahead and add more RAM and CPU and disk storage to accommodate the batch job. And ideally you also want to do some, let's say like you have one or more virtual machines and you want to do a load balancing, then we are responsible to create a load balancer and then hook up the virtual machines. And obviously if you also running a batch job, you want to make sure that the instance are having high availability. That means that we need to manually go and configure availability sets, right? And it does all the monitoring and everything is in place. There is no monitoring in place, so you need somebody to keep monitoring this and do all kinds of work to keep up the batch job. But I don't want to do that, right? So let's say you want to do it all by these things automatically, and that is the reason we have something called scale set, and you have to go and do scale set because all these things are taken care in the scale set. So with the scale set, it is nothing but identical copies of virtual machines. So that is first point. And you can go ahead and do a horizontal scaling, but as opposed to virtual machine, which we can do only vertical scale up, with scale set you can do horizontal scaling. And then the good thing is you can either go and create or integrate the existing with the load balancer, or you can go and use your application gateway. And the best part is the auto scaling, which I like most in scale set, is you just define some performance metrics, and based on the performance metrics you kick off the auto scaling either to scale up or scale down. So I hope you have a little bit of idea now and the difference between the scale set and the virtual machine. Let's get on to the Azure portal and provision the scale set. And once you have a good idea of seeing the hands-on lab, you will have much more idea on the scale sets. Okay guys, so I'm inside the Azure portal, and all you have to do is go on to the search bar and just type scale set and say like virtual machine scale set, and just choose this one and then create, and that'll land on this page, and just have to minimize it, and let's go on. So I have a free Azure subscription, so the subscription is automatically populated, and I have a whole bunch of resource groups. So I'm gonna go and use the daily demo as my resource group, and then let's have a virtual machine scale set name as VMS111, and then let's the region be East US. And you have an option to choose the availability zone, but I'm not going to do anything because this is just a demo, and the orchestration mode is always uniform and I don't have access to the preview. So here comes the part. So what we are going to do today here is we're going to have a virtual machine with the image on Windows Server 2019. So I'll create a username and password. So admin1, and my password is password1. Okay, it didn't match, so let me retype the password. Okay, so give me a second. Let me just fix all these errors. Okay, so we have our username, password, and everything is in place. So let me just mark down the username. So I have entered all the user credentials. Let's just click onto the disk. So this is a demo, so I'm not going to add any of the disk here. So it just auto populated everything for us. And then in the networking part, let's go and create a new virtual network because I don't have anyone in place. So, and everything is in place, and you have your NIC in place. And let's just go on to the scaling part. So I want to have an initial instance count as 1 because I just want to show you a demo. So you can just give initial instance count as anything you want based on your requirement. So for here I'm going to give as 1. So we'll be, as soon as we provision the scale set, we'll have one instance up and running. And then in coming on to the scaling policy, we don't want to do a manual scale up, so let's do a custom scale up. So here you can mention the minimum number of instances that should be up always is 1, and then instead of 10, let's just mark it as 3. And to scale out, let's say like you want to have a CPU threshold of 75. So let's just put it on something like 45 percentage. So whenever the instance reaches the CPU threshold of 45 percentage and it waits down for 10 minutes, instead of 10 minutes, let's go and mark it as 5 minutes. So basically, as soon as this threshold reaches to 45 percentage, it will go, the auto scaling engine will wait for 5 minutes, and then it will increase the number of instances by 1. Okay, and then it will go on do its work and until it reaches the maximum instance of 3. And it is same for scaling in. So let's say like if the CPU threshold is below let's say like 30 percentage, we want the instance to be decreased by 1, and then all the way till the minimum instance is 1. So this is the scaling policy that we are going to have. And if you want, you can also do a diagnostic log, which I'm not going to do. And here you can also have the scaling policy with a lot of different options like old VM, newest VM, and default, and its availability zone and things like that. So let me go and mark it as default and then move on to management. And with management, you have various option to use Azure security and your upgrade policies and boot diagnostic. Let's just disable that because it's a demo. And here you can use your Azure AD, or you can use your system assigned management identity. And you can also use enabling the auto OS upgrade, which I'm not going to do it. And you can also use instance terminations. I will leave everything as it is, and then move on to health. And I don't have anything else in health, so let's move on to advanced. And let's say you want to fire up some script before it gets provisioned. You can do so by adding any of your custom script, or let's say you want to build up ISS server, or you want to enable something on a boot up. You can do so by adding your script or your commands here, which you're not going to do here. And here you can use the fault domain count as maximums as 5. Let's just mark it as 1 for now, and then go on all the way down. You have the VM generation. Let's just use gen 1 as it is a demo. Let's move on to next, and this is a tag. I'm not going to do any of the tag. Let's go and review and create. So the idea here is once the scale set is in place, I will probably logging on to the Windows machine box that we just configured, and just automatically just like manually I'm going to bump up the CPU, and let's just logging on to the Azure portal and see whether it's just bringing up multiple instances or not. Okay guys, so the deployment is complete. Let's just get on to the resource and see what we have now. So everything is in place. I just have to click on the instance and see the instance as 1, because we said that we will have to have one instance in place. So let me click on to that, and it takes me here, and I'll probably connect to this instance. And as per the plan, let me go and artificially bump up the CPU, and let's see that whether it's going and scaling up to 2 or 3 instance. So right now I'm not seeing any of the metrics here. It looks like everything is in calm. So let's just get on to the box and artificially bump up the CPU. Okay, guys, so you're seeing the virtual machine scale set, the instance overview. Right now, we can see that the percentage of the CPU is only 31. But remember that we had a scaling policy whenever it reaches above 75 percentage of the CPU, then only it's going to kick off the auto scaling, and then it will provision the number of two instances. So let's just quickly jump back to the virtual machine instance and then artificially inflate the CPU. So as you can see that I have logged into the instance, and I found this piece of software. It's very much available everywhere, and people use this stress testing software. So I just installed it, and I'm going to just trying to install. Let's see. Okay, it's already installed. Let me just kick this off, and let's see whether the CPU is being pumped up or not. So let's go back to the Azure portal a little bit, and as you can see right now the percentage is still 31 percentage. Let's just give it a time, so probably it's going to reflect after some time. And as you can see here, I can see the spike going up. Let's just wait. So as you can see that the CPU has actually reached out all the way to more than 100 percentage, and you can see from here that it says that the percentage is actually 93 percentage. So I believe that on the back end it's probably going to kick off the scaling. Let's quickly go back to the box and see what it is doing. So as you can see that this application is actually eating up 96 percentage of the CPU. And remember guys, we had a cooling period of 5 minutes. So let's just wait for 5 minutes and go back to virtual machine scale sets and just verify whether it has started provisioning or not. So right now I'm inside the virtual machine scale set. Click on that and let's go on to the instance, and as you can see that it already went and started kicking off multiple instances, and you can see here it's saying that creating. So let's just wait and let's see if everything is provisioned, and after some time I'm going to go and kill that stress testing and see that whether we can scale down or not. So what I have done in the back end is I just went ahead and stopped that stress testing software. Now I can see that my CPU went down all the way to 17-12 percentage. So I believe that in the back end it's probably going to go and deallocate all the instance. So in the previous slide I showed you like it was creating a whole bunch of VM instance. Now it has cut down to 3. So let me refresh it and let's see that how many more instance it's going to cut down. So currently we have 3 instances running, and let's move on to the scaling policy. Just verify what we have done so far. So in scaling policy, so the rule that we have created is whenever the virtual machine instance is going to go above the 45 percentage of CPU, we wanted to increase the count by 1. That means that a virtual machine instance will be provisioned. Another rule that we wanted to do a scale in is that whenever the CPU percentage is less than 20 percentage, it's going to go and decrease the count by 1. And if you click on this, what I've done here is I just went ahead and dropped that 5 minutes of cooling time to 1 minute, so that we see the reflection of the results quickly. So let me close on it and let's just go back to instance. Right now we have 3 instances running, and let me just refresh it couple of times after like a minute or so. Then we should probably see all those instances will be gone, and then it will be left out with only 1 instance. So after some time I just logged in back, and then I'm seeing that there are 2 instances which are in the provisioning state of deleting. So I think our scaling policy is started kicking out, and that's it guys. I hope you learned something about virtual machine scale set, and if you have any doubt, just feel free to post it on the comment section, and I'll be happy to help you. Thank you.